I started recording.
Okay.
And I have a copy of all the 2 previous live sessions. If you have any issue or anything you wanna.
No, that's fine.
It's just the scary size of the file of 160 meg.
Yeah, you know, it's quite big. But the last one was a bit, I managed to just load it. The other one I had to go to the office so they can embed it on YouTube, and you know how the IT guys do it.
Right.
But the last one was quite complex.
But when you say the YouTube, this is restricted access to the YouTube, or it's a public, because we really need to make sure that, you know, it's copyrighted to you guys and.
It's restricted access.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll be starting in 5 minutes. So I'm just hoping other people will trickle in.
Sure. Any feedbacks to you? If everybody happy with how it's going and.
Yes, it is. There's some positive feedback from individual participants.
Very good. Good to hear.
Yeah. The good thing is we made it a bit shorter, so it's a very, you know, like you said before, 6 weeks is quite long, you know.
Yeah.
So you rather break it into modules, you know. You rather do maybe 2 weeks in Q1, then later on 3 weeks in Q2, you know, as opposed to having a long course which becomes exhausting.
Right. You know, normally, you know, because it's an introduction, so you really need to cover as wider base as you want, and then as you can in a reasonable time frame, and then you can drill down in some of the key concepts that's included in, because you know, each of these concepts would require like a module by itself, but it has to be, you know, hands-on, pragmatic, things that been done, but it's based on theory and practice. And that's what we'll. Go ahead.
I think you're right, Ayman. The next step now is to make sure that each module now becomes a course on its own, you know?
Or some of the concepts within the modules. Yes, I agree. I agree.
Yes. I mean, we just take 2 weeks just to dwell on one key module. If we're dealing with the second module, for instance, we give it 2.5 weeks just to dwell on it.
Sure.
Because this is basically an introduction. We're just introducing the concepts, but from then we go deeper into the issues. Sure. I think let's do that. Let's do that, eh?
Okay, we'll discuss this offline, and then we can come up with some ideas.
Yeah, and then we also do the other ones, the other big data ones that we had talked about.
Yes, and the regulatory reporting, I think it's very useful for central bank. It's very useful for Ministry of Finance. So regulatory reporting would be really, really something that we should drill down. And at one stage, I think, and I need to speak to the institute director as well, and you, in terms of capacity building is good, but how can we make the shift from just capacity building into on-the-job training?
Yes. Oh yes. Okay. All right. I hear
so we can really even take some of these concepts and apply it as a prototype on one country, and then.
I'm coming down, just trying to make sure my Zoom is connected.
Okay, let me try.
Morning.
Hey, Kaunga, how you doing? Can you mute your mic for now if you're.
Oh, great.
All right. Cool.
Sorry about that.
It's all good. Antonio, what I want to do is, because you see, today I combined the English and the Portuguese. It was just a trial for me. So I'm thinking we should offer the same to only Portuguese speaking separately. Just have only Portuguese people logged in and doing it separately by themselves, only in Portuguese, no English. Will that be something you prefer to do? Do you think that can work? You are muted now. Let me try to unmute you from my end.
We cannot hear you, Antonio.
Okay. I'm happy with that. I have no problems with that. I only see one Portuguese speaker here, participant.
Okay, no, that's fine.
And
That's fine. Ayman, can you co-host for me? I think I've given you all the rights, eh? I should
Okay.
have done co-host. Can you right-click on your name and on my name and do co-host?
Because I can share the screen, so that should be fine, right?
Yeah, but okay, fine. You can, okay, as long as you'll be able to send me the video when we are done. I don't know how you want to send it.
Yes. I will send it to you. I put it on OneDrive and then send you the link so you can download it at your end.
Perfect. All right. I think let's start now. It's 9:30.
Okay.
Others can find us while we are in it. Is that okay?
Yes, sure.
Okay, cool. Let me welcome everyone to the third and final live session of this e-learning course. Can you kindly mute all your microphone for now while we allow Ayman to take us through the overview of the module 3. After this overview, then we'll have a short discussion on country experiences where we share each other's country experiences on e-public finance and COVID-19. Ayman, let me not take much time and let you continue.
Thank you very much, Dr. Syed, and welcome everyone. Last Monday, I promised you that I will be doing it from Cairo. Unfortunately, in England, we have a lockdown. Virus is increasing significantly, and right now we're having 4 weeks or 5 weeks of lockdown. Means I don't leave the house unless I go to a supermarket to buy food or pharmacy. And this decision was very hard decision on the government here to take because of the impact on the economy. And it was a very thin line between people's life and economic prosperity. But they cannot reach that decision unless they use application like the one that I'm going to show you. I'm gonna I have it on my mobile, and it's called COVID. I'm just gonna, and when I started, okay, it gave me based on locality. So where I live now is a county called Tandridge. It's in England, outside central London, and it tells me how many active cases per day in my neighborhood, and it also gives an accurate information of how many cases in the UK, active new cases, as well as total number of cases. The government keep monitoring, not only this, but if I clicked on a map like this, it gives me a heat map of all of United Kingdom, England, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, borough by borough, or county by county in terms of the virus spread. So this is online accurate data, and these are the parameters that the government use to close or open or apply tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 lockdown. So information is vital to take such a decision. And I want to start the decision by saying this. So I'm not in Cairo. I am still in England, unfortunately, to present this module. We covered 2 modules, an introductory one, which applied the concepts in module 1 between e-government, iGovernment, e-services, general overview of public finance. In module 2, we drilled down more into some of the key concepts and some of the tools that are used. In module 3, we're going to focus more into case studies, into examples of how data information used for public finance, as well as handling the pandemic or any crisis, but COVID-19 is an example. So we have multiple case studies. We end up the module with a huge case study about Kenya, very detailed. I'm not going to go through a lot of it, but key concepts only, because there's enough material that you really can see what happened in Kenya in general with Public Finance Reform Acts to e-filing to M-PESA. With this, excuse me, this is the expected outcome of your module. By end of this module, you understand the value of information sharing, how to focus and make policies for vulnerable groups based on information and data. Lot of examples of portals that have been developed by government as well as private sector to address the COVID-19 challenge. There is more than, I put for you an Excel sheet with more than 500 examples of how governments are utilizing digital technology to support COVID-related effort. And then we end up with a future roadmap. And I put 2 slides at the end of this presentation and also at the end of the material that put things in perspective about Africa and the continent at large. Now, this is, if we don't understand the impacts on COVID-19 on Africa, then we may not find the right solution. So a good way to address the pandemic is to understand what's happening in Africa based on as an impact or as an outcome of this nasty virus. The African Development Bank developed 2 scenarios, a baseline scenario and a worst case scenario. Unfortunately, we are going to the worst case scenario. But let's see, the baseline scenario that they came up with, they said, well, the impact is short duration and it will be, by end of Q3 2020. Unfortunately, this is not the case. The worst case scenario, it's prolonged duration, and it will continue beyond the first half of 2021. Even if we found, you see, the reality is we don't have a vaccination. Current medicine is only to reduce the symptoms, but not a cure. So we really have an issue so far. Even if we have a vaccine, as everybody predicting by end of the year, to roll it over the world is gonna take few months. Okay, so the African Development Bank is expected an estimated cumulative loss of Africa's GDP between 137 million, that's the baseline scenario, to $263 billion. That's the worst case scenario, okay? COVID is not only our challenge in Africa. We have a widespread contagious of that virus, but also we have subdued commodity prices. The prices of our commodities are really down. Natural catastrophe in terms of locusts spreading across the continent. Social unrests in some of the African countries, and tightening of the global finance. We borrow a lot, and globally, the financial market are getting, stringy by the day. So all these things are based on information and happening at the same time that resulted in this catastrophe. So how this impacting our fiscal deficit? Of course, fiscal deficit are rising and external position are expected to worsen significantly. So fiscal deficit are projected to double in 2020 from 4.4, percent of GDP to 8.1% of GDP, because countries follow an expansionary fiscal stance. So unfortunately, we need to fill the gap. So fiscal stimulus package are there. In South Africa, it's up to 10% of GDP. In South Sudan is 0.1% of GDP. Debt to GDP levels, which used to be 60%, by end of 2019 is projected to be increased by 10 percentage points. So it's going to reach like 70% by end of 2020, okay, because of the additional financial gap in response to the pandemic, from borrowing, of course. A lot of African countries depend on remittance and foreign direct investment. Remittance from their people working around the world, and of course, mobility is an issue, so it has an impact on remittance, as well as foreign direct investment is basically, if we just focused on FDA, with an estimated of 49 billion in 2019, is expected to fall to significantly in 2020. So really, the picture is bleak. However, if we think about this, we don't have a cure, we don't have a vaccination. So what is the best way to prevent the virus? Is awareness and information sharing. Okay, awareness to tell people what they need to do in order to limit the spread of the virus, and information sharing in order to enlighten policy making to take to bring the policy decision into the local level, not just the macro level. Now we're talking about county by county, area by area of how to address economic, social, and pandemic. And you need to think about it from the perspective of how much data used to be stored in the world. In 2000, there was only 25% of data were stored digitally. So 2000, year 2000, 25%. 7 years later, it's 94% of all data generated is now recorded electronically. Add to this that in end of 2019, we had 95% of the population globally has access to mobile phones. So data is becoming available electronically, digitally, so you can mine it, you can analyze it, you can store it, and it's becoming cheaper as well. Okay, so whether it's private sector or government sector, which is a good news, of course. But you have this huge amount of data. I remember there was one private company, they have stored 800 terabyte of data. Now, for this company to analyze it, mine it, come up with useful information, decision making, customer feedback, they need to have a framework. They need to have an information management framework. How can we manage this wealth? Data is an asset. Information is an asset. Analyzing this gives you a competitive advantage. In case of government, better utilization of resources, better addressing of catastrophe and targeting issues. So you need to have an information management framework. To come up with an information management framework that you need to use. Hi. Can we mute the mics, please? Can everyone mute their mics? Excellent. Thank you very much. Kindly mute your mic. Great. So when you think about information as an asset, data as an asset, you really need to come up with a strategy, okay, in order to signify, protect, enrich, appreciate your asset. And when it comes to information, there are 4 components. People who use this, well, first of all, people who create and use and manage the information, following processes that are in place in order to follow certain standards and policy and procedures, okay? Within an organization setup that will be responsible for the information management, enabled and empowered, sometimes driven by digital technology. So these are the 4 dimensions that need to be exist in any information management. we talked before about maturity and maturity levels, and when it comes, we talked about it in the context of e-government, but also, you know, e-government and information and how much you apply and utilize information in e-government, it has the same meaning. How mature e-government is a reflection of how mature the utilization of information within the government system. Okay, so same level of maturities. You have reactive, you have proactive, managed, optimized. You can think about reactive is the informational, proactive is transactional, managed is more like the transformational, as well as optimized, where you can really information become a strategic asset and seamlessly integrated with government processes. How do we use, why do we use information? How can we use information? I mean, this is just a simple example of how information is used to support evidence-based policy and planning and decision-making, healthcare, government, central government, and defense. You need to have an infrastructure for information sharing. This is just a holistic, just a core component where we can start with the metadata. And here the metadata is fundamental. The government, any government in the world, and African government has the beauty and the advantage of building on what other advanced economies has established. We need to create a metadata booklet. It's a booklet like this that define every single generic type of information. I'll give you an example. When I say address consists of 4 fields, okay? It consists of the building number, and this is numeric, for example. It consists of the street, and this is numeric or text. It consists of the apartment number. It consists of the county, the zip code or the postcode. Now, when I use the word address in Ministry of Finance for tax purposes, or Ministry of Interior to issue building permit, or issue an ID card, or when I use it in the municipality to issue a building permit, or the word address has one meaning based on the definition of the metadata of address. And if you step and you can apply this concept on a lot of concepts, okay, or data units. Hence, when I do the integration, there is no redundancy, there is no error, okay, because I started right. I have a metadata, okay, company activity. When I say company activity, it has a very specific meaning, okay? So you link your statistics with your town planning, with your tax collection, with all are coming from the one source is the standard metadata of the government. Then on top of this, you do your core application, the FMIS, the taxes, the procurement, the payment, the public key infrastructure, smart cards, all these built on the core concepts of unified standard metadata. Okay, then you do your common application, you know, you start doing payroll, add tendency, leaves, and then core application, welfare, group core application depending on the ministry. So these are the verticals, healthcare, education, but all are coming using the same definition when it comes to data. So guess what? Once you started having this infrastructure in place, okay, then your data mining and issuing your reports, your monthly, quarterly, annually, whether you issue a report related to traffic or related tax revenue, okay, there is consistency, there's standards. So information management strategy is important in order to build this infrastructure just we talked about. And it has core components, okay? So you have the governance. This is the roles and responsibilities of managing information. Okay, exploitation, which basically the use and sharing of information. You got the development framework in terms of content, target groups, and then you got the data. That's in the core. And you have the technology architecture that can integrate all this together. So to build this, you need to start by assessing your information need. Okay, you need to assess your capabilities, the tools, the governance. You need to consider leading industry practice, benchmarks, maturity models. Okay, you define the vision and the target states that you want to reach, as well as you provide a strategy and approach for transforming the current stage, where we are and where we want to be with all the change management. To help you doing this, there are a lot of tools, a lot of frameworks. All these, by the way, is some of the existing information management framework. Okay, all of them are international standards. My favorite one is CMMI. It's very comprehensive. It touches upon a lot of things, and the abbreviation of CMMI is Carnegie-Mellon Maturity Information Model. And it's a capability maturity with all dimension. And I actually shared with you one example of how to measure maturity. So it has, because it's a framework, any of them is useful, of course, but you need to see which one is appropriate for you, your organization. It provides specific terminology, okay, target specific problem, okay, implementation plans and phases is incorporated in the model. It has a governance model, organizational model, estimating models and templates. So any of these are very useful to look at. Now, we talked about the value of information and how we can bring down and focus policy making to certain aspects of the socioeconomic landscape of the country. One of the aspects that we have measured and impacted certain groups as a result of COVID and not working and so on, we have 25 to 30 million people projected to lose their jobs due to COVID. That's a lot of stress on the government safety net. Okay, it's a lot of stress on the budget. We have to fill this, and we have to target these vulnerable groups. So that's a way of looking at it. Now, when it comes to how we look at the big data, which is the recent concepts now, it's about insight, not the data. Data is useful, but how the data is being manipulated, how the data is being handled. Value matters, of course, whether it's volume, variety, and velocity of generating the data. You have the analysis, you need to take a decision, you need to act, and once you acted, you start really measuring the impact, okay, and seeing the value of applying the data. Data is becoming, and data storage are becoming cheap. Gigabytes are simple. Now we're talking about terabytes and petabytes. So this is huge amount of data that computers can crunch in an efficient way, assuming that you have the information management framework behind it. Again, you remember, you heard this terminology before, rubbish in, rubbish out. So if your data is not consistent, coherent, accurate, then whatever your decision is going to be impacted dramatically depending on the quality of data, the volume, the variety, the velocity of data. And here are some of the parameters that you really need to look at in terms of productivity, real time, scenarios, new data sources. All these need to be embedded in your information management strategy. We saw this pyramid before when it comes to government development plan. This is the big strategy. it's the strategic plans, how it's being transformed into, and before, of course, before the strategic plan, you have the policy aspects, policy that you're targeting, whether it's health or education, and then you got your strategic plans, then you transform it into programs, and the programs has KPIs and has budgets to implement them, and then you got the analytics, okay, that enable you to measure and foresee, but you cannot do this unless you got the raw data from the ground, project by project, measuring the impact. So you basically, you capture, you manage, and you deliver reliable information. All this within the information management framework. This is an example. I just took one example. I thought it's a very interesting how visually it is, and it's very simple actually. These are the hours of the day. So from midnight to midnight. This is, by the way, this is a real example from New York, city of New York, okay? This is noontime, and these are the calls, number of calls people, okay, call complaining about something or raising about something, raising issues to a municipality or to the city of New York customer service line. So late at night, everybody is complaining about taxi drivers and where are, everybody's complaining about noise. Midnight, a lot of noise, people partying, something happening in the street, all this red. And then it's become reduced, people waking up, people going to their work, and then it starts increasing again, the amount of noise complaint. Okay, so from a policy point of view, you know, we need to analyze this and understand what's going on. Street lights, okay. People call, oh, street lights are still on. Please turn them down. A lot of calls about street lights because it's happening during daylight and street lights are on. Street condition, you know, people going to their work, coming from their work, everybody's complaining about. See, here, 7 o'clock, everybody is just, took him ages to reach his house. Here, people still at work, just leaving. Here, people just leaving, no complaint. But then, once before and during the rush hours, you can see a lot of increase. All this comes from big data analysis. And then you need to see what you can do to address this. This is another example of utilizing big data. Central bank regulatory reporting. All central banks are mandated, and this is their mandate, to collect, analyze, and disseminate supervisory, online, offline, supervisory data and statistical data. Now, this is a good example of how you can create this model, factory of reporting. I call it a factory of reporting. You collect the data from different banks and some owned enterprises, financially owned enterprises, insurance companies, some market information as well. Then you standardize it in a metadata, and then you start analyzing and regulating and putting it, and then producing the reports to whoever wants them, government, public, international organizations. And we know that data accuracy is always been, not just accuracy and timely and consistency and integrity is a complaint of international organizations when it comes to African continent and developing countries. It's also a key impediment to business, to attracting investment and encouraging business investment in a country, because if I don't have data, how can I know if this is a feasible project or not, and so on. So this is an example, but how are we gonna do this regulatory reporting? Again, you have an engine, core, okay, this is where the data are stored, and then you have reporting tools that mine this data. You have analytical tools that analyze it, and you have a simulation to build scenarios and simulation of the economy. You got a workflow of how to collect the data, how to validate the data, how to fill the gaps and so on, as well as you got a developing tool to enhance this engine. Each one of these components has a certain set of tools and techniques built part of them to be successful. So this is really a good example of utilizing big data concepts in financial sector regulation, whether it's central bank or Ministry of Finance. Now, I also give you some examples. I listed some examples of government and private sector initiatives to utilize big data in support of combating COVID-19. I'm just going to click, these are just some of the examples. I'm going to click on this to show you what is there in terms of Africa. And please tell me if you can see the screen. Can you see the screen that took you to the website? Can you see the browser? Gentlemen, hello?
No.
Okay, so you're still seeing the PowerPoint. Okay, I'm just gonna quickly stop sharing and share with you the browser. So when you click on the link, it takes you to this browser. This is developed by Esri. It's a GIS company based on this, and it gives you responses monitoring across all African continent. It tells you confirmed cases, 1.8 million, recovered cases, 1.5, deaths, 44. Now, I'm just laughing because only the UK, only the UK, 80 million people, okay, has 44 deaths, 44 million deaths so far. Now we're talking about 54 countries here. I think we're, so you can see all the official COVID dashboards. It's a very good tools. It can also give you some tools developed by community dashboards, enabled by Esri technology. Okay, so that's just an example, and I listed few examples in the presentation. So we're going back again to the presentation. So this is just an example. The first one, I only clicked here and it takes you to this. This is an interesting slide because I put for you here more than 520 digital applications developed to address COVID-19 from all over the world. Okay, it is stated the application development date, and I think if I clicked here, no, but I you know, you go to the material. Let me go to the PowerPoint itself, so I can show you how you can start this Excel sheet. So share screen, the PowerPoint itself. We go down. We go down to the slides here. Can you see the slide? So if I clicked on this, I clicked on the symbol and it opened. I'm going to share the Excel sheet that it opened it. Share screen. And here, it opened this Excel sheet. I hope you can see it.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. And this Excel sheet, you know, it's date of the application, the country, the title of the application, the institute that generated, description of the application, links to the application, and so on. So it's really, and you have 520 applications, and you can look at your country. So if I say, not the date, if I say the country here, and I picked, deselect all this, and I picked let's say Angola is the first, is not here. Let's see which the first African country, Benin. Is it? No, no, hold on. Let me see. Botswana. Let's say Botswana. Oh, I got 2 applications developed in April, teleconferencing, movement permits, and it tells you who developed it at what is the link. So this is a useful application. Let me stop sharing and go back again to our screen. So this is an example of countries globally, and there are 500. But you can group all these applications into 4 main categories. Okay, contact and tracing. So you register, you say your condition. If you have COVID, then everybody comes next to you in a parameter of 30 meters through Bluetooth, through their mobile. They know that you have COVID. Okay, so they try to stay away from you. It will not allow you to go to certain shopping area, for example, if you in your mobile and flag you that you have COVID. So you need to be isolated. Okay. Artificial intelligence chatbot, this is the helpline. When you talk to someone, you think you're talking to a person asking some information, but actually it's a machine. Okay, but it's a smart machine. Online permits is basically you are a public safety, you are a healthcare worker, and you need to move around even in the lockdown time. E-learning portal is to disseminate information and awareness of how to prevent the spread or how to deal with patient in this case. So the 520 are grouped more or less in that category. Now, I did this research and I put the data for your countries. So if you would like to share with us some of the experience, this is what I found. I extracted it, I put it here. So if anybody from Botswana would like to share his views, have a concern, have an idea, have a comment, how his country has reacted to COVID-19, he or she most welcome to speak and share with us now. Syed, would that be the right time to talk this? I still have like few slides after the country experience.
I think just finish them, then we can just have a discussion with countries.
Okay, so all right. Okay, that's a good idea. So I will skip these slides. And then move straight to the future roadmap. We cannot start doing everything at the same time, but as we just build on the metadata, the core application, the supporting application, the vertical application, and we're even to start somewhere. And we talked about public sector reform, we talked about e-government, we talked about reclustering services, we talked about public finance reform and what are the stages and the processes embedded in this. So we need to do careful sequencing. This is, and it has to be, immediate, short term, medium term, long term, ongoing development. I just here try to stag some of the concepts of how we really need to look at these things. Okay, these are big concepts, but in order to simplify them, we have to put them in buckets, each one in a box. Boxes are interlinked and integrated and connected, but we need to put it, so e-services assessment, what services provided by the government, how they are providing it, who's benefiting from it, is it used, how it is used, and by whom, okay, so that we can know which services have more impact and we can, easy to implement, and we can embed it in e-government and start digitalizing, okay. convert it into data, convert it into automated process, and so on. Then we start looking at the governance of that. We start calling it e-government. How we make it sustainable, how we make it self-funding. We look at the business model behind it so that we don't ask for budget every now and then. We collect the revenue, we take a small percentage, and we keep investing in the e-government and digital government, smart government concepts. Then you start implementing the infrastructure, and whatever you implement from an infrastructure point of view to support e-government is going to be utilized by your private sector. Okay, it's the same concept, secure electronic transactions to buy and sell services. In the case of government, you pay fees to get services. In terms of private sector, you pay money to get a product, and so on. So it's not just going to be this investment in IT and ICT and digital infrastructure is not only going to be used by government, but it's going to enable and e-commerce in the country. You start developing the information infrastructure as well. You cannot start with it now, but you have to, build confidence in the digital and then start properly doing your information management. In parallel, you have the public sector reform, you have the public finance reform, you got the policy framework reform, you got the performance-based budgeting, service quality, all these concepts that's required for empowering and having the 21st century government. Okay, big data, because you start doing, if you look at this here, by this time, you have a lot of data. Okay, then you start, and you already start building your information management. You start building and mastering your data analysis and advanced analytics and artificial intelligence. Electronic payment is an enabler, and so on. And then you do, implement sector-specific digital stuff, health, education, resources, and so on. I am not going to spend time in Kenya business case. You guys have a lot of information in the material on the portal. But the way I did it is I give you some information, put context about Kenya in terms of KPIs and key indicators, whether it's human capital index. And I always put Kenya and then the rest of the group, the 13 other countries that the institute covers. So every indicator I stated for Kenya and then projected for your countries so that you can compare. Doing business is another one. I also used global competitiveness ranking. I used the innovation index. World happiness is very interesting, and I'm biased about world happiness index, which basically I didn't put it here for you, but I put entrepreneurship and so on. But the World Happiness Index is very interesting because it gives more importance to happiness and well-being of the population in determining how to achieve and measure social and economic development. And I'm biased towards this index because it was developed in my university, London School of Economics, by two professors there. Okay, so I'm really fascinated about that. But I put other index, the entrepreneurship that I just showed you here for Kenya, and then how your country are measuring against it. And then I put the use of internet, okay, per country. And you can see Namibia is doing amazing compared with the 13 other countries. I also put the e-government index as well as the participation index, which is population participation in policy making and feedback in the government and so on, and their community and so on. And the higher the number, the better it is. E-government is a complex index, so it's an index of indices, okay? And again, the higher the number it is, I put Kenya where Kenya stack. We still have a long way to go, but we are there. We're trying compared with the rest of the world. this is the online services, how many services are online, whether it's informational or transactional. Still, there is a potential, for us as the African continent, a lot of opportunity for improvement and catching up. And the beauty is, it's becoming simple. The complexity is in the change, not in the technology. Technology is the easiest way. Don't think that the technology is the impediment. What is the impediment is the resistance to change, leadership support, awareness, and so on. Few slides about e-public finance in Kenya, which is very interesting because before they started in 2002. First of all, they have an overall 2030 strategy. So this is a countrywide strategy. And then they have the three branches of government. So they have the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. So they have the three branches of government, which is always good, so that to make sure that checks and balances. So they have an overall strategy, they have three branches of government, and they start taking decisions in the constitution for the legal framework for public financial management framework. So they have a public financial management act in 2012, and then a Commission of Revenue Allocation Act, and then an Independent Offices Act. These are the auditors. And then you have a Salary and Remuneration Commission Act. All of them happened between 2011, 2012, as well as a procurement act as well, Controller of Budget Act. So they really have the legislation in place to do public finance reform. With that, they also start, putting the legislation for M-Pesa, and M-Pesa stands for mobile money, okay? And it was a key enabler for conducting e-services. So it was launched by a private bank, okay, and a telecommunication company. So Safaricom, a telecommunication company, and Commercial Bank of Africa, it's a local commercial bank in Kenya. They together created this concept of digital money, mobile money, in order to allow people to buy services from the internet or transfer money between individuals. And we talked about the M-Pesa. The success behind the M-Pesa can be related into three concepts. Of course, in addition to the legislative concept that's been in place, the branding. They spend a lot of time, the Safaricom and the bank, to create this brand. So there is a branding effort. Channel management, they pay a lot of attention of what is the best way to spread their network. Okay, pricing. Okay, so they have a different pricing scheme suitable for different sector of the population. So framework is in place. They have an institutional framework, and that's an example. Now, at the same time, e-government also was institutionalized. So they created a governance for e-government project, government-wide, aligned to the cabinet. So it's above every ministry. So they are not in the same level of the ministry, it's above, it's in the cabinet, the prime minister office. So that's a best practice as well. E-government there, then you start using, they have the short-term plans, they have the, by the way, one of the short-term plans in their e-government strategy was the budget statement, the financial bill, the booklet of tariffs, and statistical annexes. So this was part of the short-term plan. Medium-term plan, this is where they put the taxes. The example that you see in front of you. So tax administration framework is also, and electronic government returns and claims. So income tax refund, returns completed online, tax complaints logged online, business complaints on returns, value-added tax returns. All these are being implemented in Kenya. The iTax, this is what they call it, has 14 modules. I just listed 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 modules, but there are 4 modules, 14, I think, modules are there for the iTax. Now, the impact of applying iTax, and you'll find this in details, tax remittance through Kenya Revenue Authority and mobile service, you can see the number, it's very impressive. They also contribution to new tax categories, to total tax revenue, major impact. Especially, the value-added tax and excise tax. We talked about the different type of tax we talked about. Annual performance of new tax categories that they added. Impact on GDP. It's clear since they starting life until the data I have is up to 2015, but it's a significant impact. Cost of revenue collection, of course, goes down because you use all these digital tools. With this, I finished the overview of the material. I still have 2 slides I want to share with you. This is like to put context in perspective and to put things in perspective. I am a strong believer that the 21st century is Africa century. International organizations believe in this. Major investors in the world believe in this. We have the data that can support this. And I put a couple of things that you always need to put in your mind because it gives us confidence in our continent. And all what we need is enlightened leadership supported by dedicated public servants that can make this transformation. This 21st century is our century. Okay, 70%, think about it, 70% of new entrants in the working population, okay, 70% by the year 2035 is going to be African from the continent. Amazing, amazing. We are going to be the engine of the world in 2035. North Europe, okay, it's a population decline, workforce decline. Okay, we are growing. We have the manpower. You work, you have remittance, you pay taxes, you bring the knowledge to your country. So the future is us. Okay, and the source, this is World Bank data. So we are a young continent. We have the manpower, the person power, okay, to make a change. Now, think about this. Africa Free Trade Agreement. Our continent has 1.3 billion people. We produce now, gross domestic product is $3.4 trillion. This is a huge market. This is a huge, and we'll keep growing. We have COVID now, 6 months, 1 year, we'll not have COVID. Still, this is our century. Okay? Think about it again. We are getting more and more stable, politically stable, the minimum becoming less and less. We are much, much more peaceful across the continent today than 2 decades ago. So, peace and prosperity is there. We have a huge market. We have a huge manpower. And all the data is telling us that business climate is being improving. Between 2018 and 2019, 1 year, in 1 year, 73 African, 31 African countries, okay, applied and adapted 73 regulatory reform to improve business environment and attract investors. So what is missing? Enlightened leadership, dedicated public servants like you, use of technology, manage change, and think about it. Two things, two last sentences, and then I'll give you the floor. Two last sentences. If we fail to plan, we plan to fail. One sentence. Second sentence, in order to manage development, to cope this, to get the advantage of all this, in order to manage development, we need to develop management. And this is what the Institute is doing. We are developing management. We're building capacity in you. This is something nobody can take from you. Okay, they can destroy factories, they can destroy hospitals, all the donation they gave us. However, they cannot take the knowledge that we have acquired, and the investment we put in our human capital. So this is our century, and here are why. Thank you very much. I am so pleased of doing this course, and for the Institute, for Dr. Saeed and the director to give me this opportunity. And I leave it for you guys to tell me more about your countries and how they are handling COVID-19. Saeed, if you want to say something.
Yes, thank you. Thanks a lot, Ayman. Those are very good words, particularly on the leadership and the dedicated workforce. Can you now, I think what you can do now is just to pick a participant, then they can reintroduce themselves where they are dialing from and give us maybe a 5-minute discussion on what they're doing. You can just guide them on exactly what they should talk about.
Okay, so remember we said there are 520 applications for COVID. Just gonna, yeah, and I did this research for each of your country, and I said, just I need an example, you know, the intervention that your government did, the title of the tool or the application or the initiative, which institute is in charge, and description, and if there's any already live or not, or any other information you want to share. So I listed the countries. I didn't have the names of the teams to put them in, but I started alphabetical. So we have Botswana. Do we have anybody from Botswana that can give us some insight of how the country is handling COVID-19? What is the response? Botswana.
I don't see Joseph here. Maybe we can move on to, you can skip Burundi and move on to another.
Next country, Burundi.
Burundi, you can skip it for now.
Okay, Tanzania.
All right. I'm not sure if there's anyone from Tanzania, but it doesn't matter anyway. So whoever's around can.
Okay, Tanzania, they have 3 applications that I found. Zimbabwe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
alphabetical order. We have
nobody from
Zambia
Zimbabwe?
before. Zambia comes before Zimbabwe.
Oh, sorry.
Exactly.
Oops.
Man.
Oops.
Which alphabet?
So, okay, so let me, all right, let's go, because probably there was no application in the database, but let's have the screen. So,
Okay. All right.
Ooh.
The previous
Zambia.
one, yeah.
Yeah, Zambia. So we have, let's say
All right.
Zambia. Okay.
Yeah. So Zambia, we're here. And I'll introduce my team members. Right now, I have Christine Mulenga, Rachel Jerry, and myself, Kaonga Mazawa. We're from the Revenue Department, but of course, there are others who are also in the Ministry of Finance, and you know, they are in the other departments. So we've been sitting as a team, ensuring that you know, we have full participation. So I'll quickly go into our presentation, and I think you guided us to say that we should distinguish the title the institutions in charge, description, and give a URL like a link. So basically, we have what we call the National Epidemic Preparedness, Prevention, Control, and Management Committee. In short, it's NEPMC, NEPPMC, which is like a task force that was formed, to look at the country's reaction or preparedness to the COVID-19 pandemic. I hope you can get me.
Yes, clear.
Yeah. Yeah.
They can't see the slides.
Or should I have shared the slides?
Do you have try
okay.
to share them, but let's see if you have access.
Maybe I can share it later on, yeah, because
sure.
I'm having it on my tablet here.
Okay, just post it later to Professor Syed and he will...
I'll post it later, yeah. All right. So basically, the institutions that we've had, obviously, the COVID was a pandemic, a shock to the globe. I mean, it hit Zambia like it hit every other country. And I must hasten to say that Zambia has had what we call the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit, the DMMU, from as far back as 2019, if I'm not mistaken, that was 2007, thereabout. Okay, so we've had this unit that has looked at disasters in the country, and these range from floods, severe food shortages and the likes. Okay, so the DMMU, I'm getting some interruption. The DMMU basically was tasked to coordinate this COVID response team.
Can everyone mute their phone?
I'm hearing. Can someone mute? Can you mute? Can some people mute?
Can everyone mute their mics, please?
Yeah.
Please mute your mic.
Maybe you can help. You can just mute everybody.
Yes, Syed, can you
Iman
mute
is hosting today. You should just do that.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll proceed. Yeah. So
Josimar should mute the microphone.
Okay. So I'll continue. So the DMMU, which is the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit, was actually tasked to spearhead, to sort of coordinate, the disaster, the COVID response, country's COVID response, and other institutions that were, also tasked to work with the DMMU, the Zambia National Public Health Institute, the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Home Affairs, which is in charge of security in the country. The Ministry of Health, Ministry of Home Affairs has the police and, general security around the country. And then we have the Ministry of Finance, which is in charge of the country's resources in terms of finances and coordinating, the donations that came through from various partners. And even locally here, we had a lot of business houses that came forward to make a lot of donations, in kind and cash donations, to help the government fight this pandemic. Actually, I must hasten also to say that this, brought out one of the very strong African ethnic bonds. Like the way one neighborhood would have a funeral and have so many people or neighbors coming forward to help. This is the kind of situation that we had in Zambia, where we had business houses, from the large to the small business houses, individuals making donations, churches coming forth, donating masks, and some, small entities were also able to make reusable masks, from pieces of cloth, and we're able to make those donations to the schools, to the communities, and all that. And then also we have Ministry of National Development and Planning, helping coordinate the planning. And then we have Ministry of Community Development, which looks at the social welfare aspect. And then we had also Ministry of Information and Broadcasting Services, you know, which was looking at the communication around the country, coordinating the, you know, the national television, where, you know, we had daily updates on the COVID, you know, pandemic. Then last but not least, we have Ministry of Commerce, which looked at the businesses. You know, businesses were hit so hard in this COVID period. Lots of businesses closed down. Some have failed to actually even take off right now. We have educational institutions which were closed down completely. Hotels and lodges, I mean, could not operate. So it's only now that some of them are able to pick up the pieces, and you know, they're opening up. But generally, it was as bad as a lockdown, like a total lockdown. So businesses were not operating, people were out of their jobs, and so you know, the banking sector. I hope you can still get me.
Yes,
Can
we
you hear
are.
me?
We are. We can see
Yeah,
you.
the banking sector was also, thank you. So the banking sector also received, you know, some package, some severance package from the government to help, you know, stimulate the borrowings and the lendouts, you know, so that, you know, businesses and individuals could be able to access money to even just survive, or to keep some of their small businesses operational, so that they could keep people on jobs, and you know, sort of prevent a total lockdown. So, as I mentioned, at the highest level, we have the Zambia All Hazards Preparedness and Response Plan, you know, which was structured in such a way that it was in line with the Disaster Management Act of 2010, and basically, you know, this unit was coordinating all the emergencies, the disasters, on a multi-sectorial level. Okay, I mentioned the businesses, the banking sector, health sector, police, all critical sectors in the economy were actually pulled to work on this multi-sectoral institute. Of course, having the DMMU that has the mandate for such disasters to coordinate. Of course, there was the toll-free line that was has been in existence, but I think with the COVID, it was sort of enhanced, and you know, the public was encouraged to report cases of COVID in their neighborhoods, in their communities, and you know, even just to understand what this COVID was, because I mean, even now, I think the researchers are still trying to understand where this thing came from. So there've been these lines.
Can I just interrupt here? Any
Yeah,
of
please.
these initiatives are using digital technology in reporting, or storing data, or disseminating data?
Yes, yes, absolutely. I mean, I mentioned the Zambia National Public Health Institute, under which it has a communications department, a fully fledged communications department.
No, I mean,
Now,
I mean the just two initiatives that you mentioned in terms of reporting cases and so on. Are they done
yes,
online?
yes, yes. Basically, there's social media pages that have been
Okay, so
opened
social
up,
media.
you know, social media, and then there's, you know, the websites, of course, the telephone lines that were opened up for people to communicate. And then also, we noticed an increase in the use of the facility we're using today, like the Zoom, the teleconferencing facilities, where media institutions were not only televising you know, the news broadcasts by the Minister of Health, but we're actually sending streaming live on social media platforms, which was something that was new, and people could watch, get the updates on their phones. They could react, send messages, and there was a, you know, very quick response to such you know, inquiries online, you know, on a social media platform, which I think is very rare, because usually social media for formal institutions like government institutions will be a one-way, just disseminating information. But this was a two-way kind of thing. So I think in terms of yeah, those platforms, emails also, you know, as usual, emails and SMS were also used for for disseminating information, and then also avoiding the social, distancing, what do you call it, the social gatherings. So these platforms were used for communication between business to business and also government to business. So some government institutions were closed, like the tax offices. So all these online platforms were encouraged, for business to communicate through, these platforms, to pay their bills, to file in returns, tax returns. My colleague here, Rachel, was mentioning payment of bills, utility bills. So you find that the front office for most institutions were literally closed. And so you'd find a notice and they'll just give guidelines on how people could make either payments or communicate with various institutions. So I don't know if I can move now to our roadmap, which is very brief. Our country preparedness for future pandemics. So the DMMU still has the mandate to coordinate future disasters. They have developed the COVID response plan, which is, according to them, a living document. The COVID response plan basically outlines, the strategies and gives guidelines to the public as well as the institutions that are the multi-sectoral institutions on how they respond to calamities. It's a COVID response plan, but I think they're looking at it being an ongoing, sort of a task force. So looking at, we may have the COVID pandemic may wear off, but the country may be faced with other future pandemics which may not be known at this present time. So I think this has been a lesson for most countries and the world at large. And Zambia has also not remained behind in terms of use of e-government platforms. It has seen the government enhancing the use of e-government platforms. At the highest level in Zambia, we have the Smart Zambia Institute, which reports directly to the president on rolling out e-government platforms. So we've seen cabinet, parliament, high-level meetings taking place on e-platforms. And this is the order of the day. We have e-cabinet where cabinet members are actually working online. Even before the pandemic, they had, I think they had equipment sourced from Microsoft, where, documents would be sent online and they prevent the actual printing of large files of documents. So they send online, and what we are told is that the chairperson of the cabinet, who is the president, is able to monitor whether documents have been read or not read. Not just about downloading, but actually reading. There are those features, those apps that would actually give that feedback if someone has actually read the documents. So they have that, and I think it has also enhanced, the IT literacy, regardless of age. I would give an example. I hope I'm not taking too much time, but of my mother, who at the age of 73 enrolled for an MBA, and with little IT skills, she had to prepare her mind to learn how to use the internet and to use a laptop and all that. And so now she's able to even host Zoom meetings. And so this is a kind of mindset change, or the paradigm shift that had to happen around our leaders, where they had to learn how to use these gadgets and be able to conduct meetings online, read documents, and use the internet and that. Yeah. So basically, our roadmap is centered around the 7th National Development Plan, which is linked to the country's Vision 2030. And it has several pillars around it. I'll just pick a few. Some of these are to strengthen, I beg your pardon, the economic diversification and job creation, poverty and vulnerability reduction, reducing developmental inequalities, enhancing human development, create. Hello? Are you able to get me, Dr.?
Yeah, I'm listening. This is, you were basically linking your national policy, your national strategy with Millennium Development Goals. Yeah.
Thank you, yeah. So basically, you know, the roadmap is centered around the 7th National Development Plan, creation of a conducive governance environment for a diversified and inclusive economy. So going forward, we're seeing the government setting up what is called the Government Service Bus, the GSB. And on this platform, the public can basically access a number of government services online, from payment of road tax, payment of land rates, payment of taxes, paying for you know, passports. My colleagues were able to chip in, and if I've left out, the list is long, but Christine and Rachel, I think we're able to chip in, you know, but we've seen, you know, the G2B and the G2C kind of platforms being enhanced and being driven by a strong hand, of course, having the top leadership involved, and the person coordinating the Smart Zambia Institute reporting straight to the president and at that very senior government level. So it has seen the country, I think, slowly but surely changing our mindsets to the use of e-governance platforms. And I think that's the reason why we also got interested, and we saw a number of myself and our colleagues being enrolled to this e-governance platform. I'll probably end here for now so that I can leave room for others, but then also my colleagues may have one or two things to chip in, because we did this as a group.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much, Konga. That is very useful. And I'd love to hear from the rest of your team.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Rachel.
Just in addition with the GSB, currently we have about 68 services included. By
with
year
payment?
end,
with payment?
Hello?
With payment, Rachel?
With payment.
Yes, with payment.
Excellent.
We have about 68 services. By the end of the year, we'll be heading to 100.
Are they developed internally, or they developed through the Smart Gambia Institute?
Smart Zambia Institute.
Okay. So they are not the ministries or the agency?
The government.
Through the government.
Oh, the individual ministries.
So yes. Smart Zambia is the government.
Smart Zambia is government through institutions as well.
Yeah, but are they the coordinating, like the regulator and the operation and the implementation at the ministries, or they are also regulator and operator?
Zambia coordinates, develops.
Smart Zambia coordinates and develops. So we work in collaboration.
Okay.
And actually, these same institutions, they are actually interlinked. If I go to Ministry of Lands and I want to make a payment, it will link me to National Edge, where they'll be able to confirm my credentials and everything about an individual. So most of these things are working so well. You don't need to physically.
Okay.
Go to National Edge to confirm if someone is that's the owner of a property. You just use the system to confirm, and everything else works out.
Right. Very useful. Anything else you would like to add, Rachel or Konga?
It will also be important to inform you that currently cases in Zambia of COVID are standing at 16,908.
Okay.
And we have had about 15,873 recoveries, and the deaths are 349.
Okay, I think Africa is blessed with very low number of infection and deaths compared to as North Europe and the US and China and India. So I don't ask me why. I try to analyze it. I try to understand it. I was there in Cote d'Ivoire, and I tell you, no explanation other than the next century or this century is our century. That's all. Anyone else? Anybody from Namibia? Anybody from Rwanda?
Namibia, we are here.
Excellent. Can you share some initiatives from Namibia about combating COVID-19 or e-government in general?
Okay. I'm trying to switch on my camera.
Okay. Thank you, Zambia team.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Yes, my name is Hilia Lazarus. I'm with my colleague, Bianca Liswaniso. So we're just going to take you through the COVID responses for Namibia and the measures in place, as well as the future roadmap.
Okay.
Yes, so I've submitted our presentation to Mrs. Mutandazi, but we've made a few changes to the presentation that we submitted. So it's gonna be there, slight changes.
Thank you very much. Fine.
Okay, so I'm gonna go through the responses. These were like the measures that were in place to help stop the spreading of the virus. For example, we had a lockdown for 3 months, and then the borders were closed for 7 months. Large gatherings were not allowed. So first, people were only allowed to gather 10 people, and then it was later extended to 200 people in a group. And then the selling of alcohol was prohibited for a certain period until it was then allowed. People were allowed to buy and sell alcohol, but it was only for certain restricted hours time. And then the World Health Organization, with the help of the Ministry of Health and Social Services, they provided training. This is awareness on how to help stop the virus from spreading to other people and to, Ministry of Health and Social Services prepared response teams and staff from public and private facilities. And like I've mentioned, the Ministry of Health also created awareness on sharing information. This was done on different platforms. It was done on social media. It was done on televisions, on radios, and also the ministry will send messages to cell phone. Will send to messages to cell phones. To cell phones, for example, like put on your mask, social distance of 1 meter in large gatherings. Yes, schools were closed for 3 months, and currently schools are open, but then learners are attending classes in shifts. Like if they attend on Monday, then on Tuesday they won't attend, and then they attend again on Wednesday. And then universities are also,
Helia,
sorry.
Just a question. These measures are applied by certain geography or across Namibia?
This is applied across Namibia.
Okay.
Yes. And the university students, since March, universities were closed, and then university students have been attending classes online. So they've been having e-learning virtually. Yes, and then wearing of masks is compulsory everywhere we go. So the second slide is on the COVID response. This is what was put in place. I'm going to present what was done and the responsible institutions on the response for COVID-19. So number one, we have an emergency income grant. This is the institution responsible is the Ministry of Finance. It's the economic stimulus package where people that are the unemployed people and people that from the age of 18 that are lost their jobs because of COVID-19, or they were previously, they've been unemployed, they received the 750 for basic necessities. Yes, and then Ministry of Finance, again, being the responsible institution, introduced, the wage bill subsidy was introduced through Social Security. And then the Ministry of Education, together with the Ministry of Finance, they built classes and hostels for social distancing. For example, we used to have classes where learners, 30-something learners are in one class, but because of COVID-19 and the social distancing, they have to build classes and they have to build hostels so that they stop the spreading of the virus so it doesn't spread so fast. The schools board, this is the Ministry of Agriculture, together with the Ministry of Finance again, they build water tanks so that there is enough water facilities in rural areas, in schools, and in other rural areas. And then, yeah, this is the water, the Ministry of Water and Agriculture. And then again, the Ministry of Finance accelerated the payment of suppliers. These are the suppliers for outstanding invoices previously, so they have to accelerate the payment to suppliers. And then the issuance, this is Ministry of Finance again, the issuance of foreign guarantees to back the borrowing, especially for SMEs. Yes, this is the Ministry of Finance. And then the Ministry of Health increased awareness. Yeah, let me just say awareness and information sharing. So COVID-19 monitoring dashboard, COVID-19 information sharing center. This was done on a daily basis, where the Ministry of Health shares on the number of new cases, the number of recoveries, the death due to COVID-19. And this was also done on television, radio, social media, and yeah, and in newspapers also. So this was done on a daily basis, and the dashboard, it was done on a weekly basis. This is just the report to the public on COVID-19. And the roadmap for COVID-19 is that the government managed to build isolation facilities for people who are infected by COVID-19. So they are isolated, different areas, so they're isolated, so they build the isolation facility. The Ministry of Health and Social Services employed more staff and procure more testing kits. This will help speed up testing process. Yes. And then build classes and hostels for social distancing in learners, schools board water tanks so that there's enough water facility to wash hands regularly and learners in schools, extend water facility to rural areas. And since people are not allowed to, since large gatherings are not allowed, so meetings are done virtually. So we attend our meetings virtually, and we share every other information that we have to share is done virtually, because large gatherings are not allowed to attend meetings virtually, and whatever training is taking place is also done online. Yeah, because of COVID-19. And the government is working on the economic recovery plan to mitigate the effect of the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic. This is now and even beyond. I thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
That's very useful, Helia, if I'm pronouncing it right. And
Yes, you are.
yes, in terms of the pervasiveness of e-government services, do you have like a centralized entity responsible for e-government services, or it's disseminated or distributed among individual ministries?
Yes, we have the Office of the Prime Minister. It's the institution which is responsible for e-government.
Okay, and it has e-services with payment and transactions.
Yes, it does have. And I also,
including tax collection, tax administration, filing returns.
Yes, I forgot to mention that actually the tax collection is the Ministry of Finance. We have it's called ITES. We have an online, what is it called? It's a website where, yeah, integrated tax administration system. Integrated tax administration system. This is where people file in their returns. So instead of people having to come to finance personally or in person, so it's done on the system. It's done on the system. This is where businesses submit their returns and the individuals submit their returns also on the system.
Okay, in terms of other revenue collection, like building permit renewal or commercial license renewals or any of the government services, do people pay with their debit card, credit card, or a special prepaid government services card?
It's cash, and people are allowed to swipe as well.
Okay, swipe with a debit card or a specially prepaid government service card?
A debit card.
Okay, good. That's very useful. So what do you think the main challenges of utilizing more digital technology in supporting policymaking or in the government in general? What would be the main challenges that impeding a more utilization of digital technology in Namibia?
The challenge will be capacity building, I can say, is.
So digital divide, you mean? Awareness?
Sorry?
Awareness, you mean, like digital divide, like people know how to use their mobile to do government services. Is this what you mean?
Okay, let me just give my ED to respond to the question.
Thank you, Ayman. Thank you, the team. I just wanted to compliment Hillia that some of the challenges in terms of e-services is more from the customer side, because we still need to capacitate them on how to use the technology so that they can then make use of these services that the government has put in place. Be it now the integrated financial management system or the integrated tax administrative system. So we need still to capacitate the customers, the stakeholders, to make use of these services. But equally, the officials, us, we also need to capacitate ourselves, because this is a new technology and we need to be capacitating ourselves as we go. Thank you so much.
Right, I think that's a very good point in terms of capacity building, but that's part of the change management when you implement these cross-platform tools and applications. FMIS should have a good training and capacity building part of the implementation plan and change management plan within the government. And then, of course, the extended users outside other ministries, as well as the constituencies, the people and businesses. So I totally agree with you that awareness is one of the challenges that we face. Add to it, I call them the 3 A's. Awareness is 1, access is 2, and affordability is the 3rd A. So it's the 3 A together that need more work to get the best out of these investments, because this is not, it's a mega investment. That's good. Thank you very much. Would you like to add anything else?
No, thank you so much. I just jumped in because it was a serious presentation representing Namibia. And once again, thank you. My name is Erica, and we are excited to be part of the program. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Erica. Thanks, Celia.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Said.
Thank you.
So we got Namibia. So anybody from Rwanda or Uganda, Malawi, Lesotho, Kenya, Zimbabwe? Sayed, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. Let's look for whoever is online from. I'm just going through the participants who are online now. Hold on.
Any volunteers?
I think anyone can go in. It doesn't have to be alphabetical. Whoever is around can.
Yes,
can go in.
any volunteers? Floor is open. Just speak.
Sitle, are you there? I think Sitle is around. Sitle, are you there? Eva, Doreen. If not, then we can move on and end. Ayman.
Okay, I finished the material now. I left this slide because it's very powerful slide. The future is for us. Public servants are the dynamo behind the transformation. Yes, private sector has a role, but traditionally public sector is the driver, and hopefully this will be contagion to the public sector, sorry, to the private sector. So you guys are the important enabler in all this transformation. Have faith and keep the good work, keep learning, keep expanding your knowledge and experience, and seek help if the institute, myself, Antonio or Syed. So I leave it for you now, Syed. What's next? Do you want to do another session at the end, or this would be the final session for me?
I think that's our final session. Let me share my screen so we can do the admin side, which they can continue doing beyond this week. Just hold on. So for this is the last week. Let me switch the role to student. There are so many roles in this portal. So what you will see is that when you go to the portal, you know, when you're the administrator, so many roles now. Okay, so this is the third week that Ayman was covering today, both in English and Portuguese. Kindly go over the material. You can go over Ayman's presentation. It summarizes these things very well. I'll load the presentation into the portal. I'll also translate it into Portuguese. The Portuguese translation will take a bit of time because I have to seek assistance. I'm not Portuguese speaking myself, so I get assistance somewhere else. And then I would request that you do this course wrap-up where you take the post-course quiz. It's similar to the pre-course quiz. We just have to measure the learning gain, what you learned throughout the 3 weeks. You are also free to download your own certificate. It's available in English and in Portuguese. The post-course quiz is also available in English and Portuguese. Also, there is a course questionnaire, which is a few questions. You can quickly go over the course questionnaire and give us your feedback if you're male or female. Just click. If you disagree, agree. If you think myself, Ayman, or Antonio were not good, just share your views and all of these things. I think that's basically all what I wanted to show. That's basically the admin part of it. Do the post-course quiz, download your own certificates, and then do the questionnaire. The portal will remain open for up until end of December, or I can leave it up until the end of January, doesn't matter. You are free to keep going back to the portal to access, share ideas, or post anything you want in the portal. Download all the material. It's not closed. You are free to go over it. What is really important is the pre-course quiz, the post-course quiz, and the evaluation form. Those are the 3 most important things for us as the course administrators. It helps us to see where we can improve going forward. I think that's all I wanted to say. We will continue communicating on WhatsApp if there are any other issues that you guys are facing. But in the meantime, go ahead and enjoy your week, and that's enough for me.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Prof. Antonio, you can say something to everyone if you want.
No,
Yes.
I'm very pleased, and thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to be with these wonderful people, and I look forward for the next course, hopefully soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It was a wonderful. It was a wonderful experience, and hope to see you guys next time. Have fun and enjoy it.
It's actually very interesting. Anyone else who wants to say anything, please feel free.
Yeah, so I didn't get the last part, Dr. Said. On the close, there was a closure Zoom live on at the end of the session. Is that what you had just done? Because the course materials.
Okay. So what we are saying is we don't really need another live session. What you can do is just do those 3 activities: the pre-course, which is at the top of the portal, the post-course, and the course evaluation.
Questionnaire.
The certificates are free to download for.
You know, our superiors, and pull down some information, some of the things that are not yet, but are actually work in progress. So I think it really helped us. It gave us that platform within our work environment, and I think networking with the other countries. So yeah, that was really useful. We look forward to the next phase. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much. What I was discussing with Ayman and Antonio is that because there's an introductory phase, so there's a lot of work that needs to be done in this area, and it's a very new area. So we are thinking of maybe just taking module 2, going into detail on it beyond the introductory phase. Then later on have another module on PFM and cryptocurrencies and going into detail on all those topics. And then later on doing COVID or any other pandemic, whether it's natural resources, climate change, wind speeds, and see the impact of public finance in those areas, where we now dedicate 2 weeks only for that particular activity. But we'll communicate as we keep on thinking how we can improve this area. Prof?
Okay. And another area I think would be the issue of the cryptocurrencies and big data. I think those are very key and current issues globally. So yeah. All right. Otherwise, thanks a lot. It's been good. We'll continue.
Very correct. Antonio?
Okay, thank you.
I'm fine. It was a great pleasure. I had a lot of fun. Of course, this is just the beginning, and so, but the change is really what matters, and I believe that we can do that. And let's push forward, and I will be here if anyone needs help and assistance. And thank you very much. It was a great experience.
Thank you, Prof. Cheers. Thank you, guys, and have a good week.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good. I'm start seeing faces now. Good. At the end of the course. Excellent. Excellent.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
There you go. Say it in your language. Okay. Ma salama.
Adeus. Adeus.
Adeus.
Adios.
Great meeting you all. Take care. Bye. God bless. Bye.
God bless. Bye.